Today's video was voted on by viewers like you. Just not the majority of viewers like you.
I would start this video off explaining the concept of the MarioKart series to you, but I could also start this video off explaining how to watch a YouTube video and convey an equal amount of information you didn't otherwise know.
We get it. Mario characters drive around and throw bull at each other, and you like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. Let's move on.
Something I will mention with more pressing pertinence to our subject at hand is the absolute ravenous demand fans online have been voicing for a new Mario Kart pretty much since the Nintendo Switch launched back in 2017. It was deafening. Some people speculated that the Switch wouldn't get its own Mario Kart and that 8 Deluxe was it. Others were insistent Mario Kart 9 was coming. Every Nintendo console and handheld before it has received a Mario Kart title ever since the series debut on SNES after all. The Switch couldn't possibly be the first ever exception to this rule, if you don't count 8 Deluxe, despite it pretty much clearing every parameter for being a new Mario Kart game, arguably better than some other entries in the series.
Also, if you don't count the Virtual Boy, it didn't get a new Mario Kart for pretty obvious reasons. Yep. Creative differences between the split staff of Virtuals and Boys. Classic battle of the genders.
With every successive year Mario Kart 8 Deluxe didn't receive DLC and Mario Kart 9 wasn't announced, the more restless fans grew. Whenever extracurricular Mario Kart products came along, like Mario Kart Tour, Mario Kart Live Home Tour, Mario Kart VR Arcade, and the Mario Kart attractions at Universal Super Nintendo World Theme Park, people online continued to insist back and forth that it either ensured Mario Kart 9 was coming soon, or that 8 Deluxe was really all the Switch needs. DLC for 8 Deluxe was eventually announced. 48 new tracks and apparently new characters too, so Mario Kart fans have seemingly been quelled, at least until the end of this year when the DLC ends. At which point, Nintendo's next system will probably be announced and a brand new Mario Kart is all but guaranteed to arrive shortly after.
When looked at in terms of years between entries, the gap between Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 9 has been longer than any gap between Mario Kart games before. If you discount all the games that came out between them, that is. And this begs the question. What have the Mario Kart developers been making during this gap?
The Mario Kart games are developed by internal Nintendo studio Entertainment Production and Development Group 9, or EPD9 for short. Back in the days before this great hiatus, EPD9 worked on other games between Mario Kart releases. Games like Luigi's Mansion on GameCube, the Nintendogs games on DS and 3DS, and the last game they released prior to this gap, ARMS.
ARMS, oh ARMS. What a game. The exact type of experience that keeps me loving Nintendo. Sony would never, Microsoft would never, indies just don't have the resources. ARMS is peak Nintendo innovation.
I know I'm in a relative minority on this. Many people don't care for or don't care to take a chance on ARMS for many reasons. After all, who wants to waggle their arms around to play a glorified port of Wii Sports Boxing? Not me. No, really, not me. So thank goodness that is not at all what ARMS is. ARMS has motion controls, true, and Nintendo centered the marketing for this game around those motion controls, sure, but they are 100% optional. ARMS can be played in a variety of methods that expertly showcase the versatility of the Switch. It's no wonder this was Nintendo's debut original IP for the system.
If you don't count 1-2 Switch, which only serves to showcase the Joy-Con specifically and makes no effort toward building a proper work of fiction.
The motion controls are great, don't get me wrong, even if I do prefer my own sticks and buttons based custom mapping. The motion controls work better than any I've ever encountered before and carry an ingenious amount of nuance that benefits the experience CPD9 created. But too many people wrongfully assume or assert that the experience was created for them, and this is just not true. This game actually came into development when Mr. Kazuki Ibuki and his staff attempted to come up with a system for a fighting game with a third-person view. The prevailing issue with this concept is that it's hard to judge distances at that angle. So the workaround he and his staff arrived at was to make the fighter's arms extend into the distant toward your opponent. Now suddenly, the tactics one must employ to battle their opponent are to keep their distance and read their opponent's moves as they're being deployed. This isn't the first time a fighting game with this camera angle has ever come into being, though. Virtual On from Sega did it first. Though the fighters' arms didn't extend, they just shot projectiles at one another. Incognito Entertainment also made a PS2 exclusive called War of the Monsters, which did something similar. Though the issue of difficult distance judgment was prevalent and was mostly negated by throwing stage hazards at your opponents. Virtual On, War of the Monsters, and ARMS share the same subgenre of fighting game. They are all arena fighters. Arena fighters are fighting games that allow characters to freely roam uninhibited in a 3D arena. Other popular examples typically have an overhead or otherwise dynamic diorama-style camera angle, as opposed to a third-person one, such as Nintendo's previous arena fighter series, Custom-Robo.
Custom-Robo, oh Custom-Robo. What a game.
You've done that bit. What has this got to do with Mario Kart?
It's related, I swear. Just let me connect my tangents here. I brought them up for a reason.
One of the defining mechanics of Custom-Robo is the customization. It's right there in the title. Mixing and matching Robo's parts played tactically into how best to beat your opponents alongside all the expected fighting game strategies. ARMS does something remarkably similar. For while each character available to you has a diverse moveset and unique stats to offer, there is also a bountiful array of boxing gloves called ARMS that each offer even more tactical options and can be mixed and matched amidst every fighter on the roster. The sheer level of variation within this game keeps the meta fresh and in flux even to this day, even if it's not mainstream to the fighting games community. But I'm not really much of a community competitor per se anyway. I just love a competitive game when it's fun to play and has a style that meshes with me. And boy howdy, does ARMS ever have style. The whole thing is marinated in a unique blend of multiple extra integrated cultural influences which permeate throughout the stages, music, character designs, badges, scenic elements. There's just so much. And so few people even talk about it. Check out these videos I have linked in the description for more on that when this video's over, because you owe it to yourself to learn how much love was poured into this game.
I could, and someday will, gush about ARMS for hours, but not right now. I just needed to give you all my perspective on this title to hopefully entice you with more than simply befuddled amazement or accusations of being a nonconformist hipster hater when I tell you that I love this game infinitely more than Mario Kart. I suspect further elaboration is in order.
Mario Kart is fun. I enjoy it. I even enjoy racing games generally because, as I said before, I love a competitive game with a style I can gel with. And I gel with Mario Kart style just about as much as I gel with any Mario game. When it's offbeat, awesome. When we've seen it 1,000 times, I'm unenthused. And I'm sorry to say it, but Mario Kart seldom does more than either reference a thing from Mario or transpose a thing from Mario on another thing. It's fine, I can dig it, but I can hardly bring myself to call it brilliant or inspired. The world of Mario is eccentrically eclectic by design, so there's little in the way of surprise beyond the occasional off-the-wall inclusion that gets people wondering whether or not this crosses the line for what Mario should be allowed to interact with. And at this point, anything short of crossing into PG-13 territory won't do it.
Mario Kart is the epitome of safe Nintendo. It always sells well, anyone can appreciate it, it's simultaneously a crowd pleaser for hardcores, casuals, and even non-gamers. But ARMS, on the other hand, is just so new.
Brand new characters, brand new world, brand new innovative take on a relative niche within the hardcore-oriented fighting games genre that simultaneously offers an olive branch to the casual crowd for how user-friendly its core mechanics are. Some have accused it of not doing enough to please either camp, but I can tackle that another day. The larger issue ARMS faced that's begun to start affecting Mario games as well is the free update-based content rollout model. For every month in 2017 after ARMS' launch, ARMS would receive updates that brought new content in the form of characters, stages, ARMS modes, extras, etc. Thusly, people accuse the game of not launching with enough content on day one. I mostly agree that default unlockables and more content at launch is preferred over nebulous promises of updates, but I do think ARMS had plenty of content day one, and even think this model helped it in a very specific way. See, the world of ARMS is totally new, totally unique, and extremely investable. Intrigue naturally becomes it because there are so many aspects to this world and some of its characters that are largely mysterious. Hell, the denizens of ARMS don't even know what this springy phenomenon is exactly. It's been going on for centuries, yet they don't know where it comes from or why it happens. Though some patterns have emerged and enough research has been conducted to control it for recreational use, hence, the pro sports fighting league that the game is kind of hinged on. And some characters introduced through free updates have offered more information or suggestions and answers towards some of these mysteries. The final fighter added, Dr. Coyle, straight up solved a mystery concerning the campaign's final boss. And yet, she also introduced some new mysteries all her own. Oh, the drama. What I'm getting at here is that the updates worked well in ARMS' favor because they did more than introduce new characters and stages. They introduced passive storytelling elements that worked wonders on fans like me who were already invested in the world and characters and hungry to learn more about them.
If you thought the cancellation of Dark Horse's ARMS graphic novel was a shame for preventing a story from being told in this world, you're wrong. It's a darn shame because it deprives us of getting a closer look at the story the game already tells.
Data mining the game also suggests that more content besides the stuff we got was at one time in development. Fighters, arms, stage hazards, and other stuff we never ended up getting. And yet, support was dropped at what felt like a time too soon.
So this, of course, brings us back to the question that got us on this path in the first place. What have EPD9 been working on since dropping support for ARMS?
Well, some staff helped out on Mario Kart Tour alongside other teams, but surely that wasn't too monumental a task, right? And apparently they've worked on Mario Kart 8's DLC too, but that's mostly imported tour tracks. Data miners even suggested before the DLC's announcement that they seem to have been tailor-made to be easily transferable to 8, so again, not too laborious of an effort, right? Well, that's what I figured, until the recently revealed Wave 4 for the booster pack. A brand new Yoshi's Island track with totally unique elements? Yeah, that's pretty sus. I'd bet dollars to donuts this track will show up in the next system's Mario Kart. And considering too that the Switch has already lasted longer without a follow-up than most Nintendo systems, and its chipset was discontinued 2 years ago, and the Switch's first-party software lineup has become relatively slim, mostly constituted of games delayed from last year, I'm 95% sure the next thing we see from EPD9 is Mario Kart 9 for Nintendo Switch's successor.
And is that it? Is that the Mario Kart ARMS discrepancy? Am I just disappointed that a sequel to a game I like has likely been put on ice, if it was ever even considered at all, in favor of an expected new entry in Nintendo's single most safest series? Well, pretty much. But the disappointment goes deeper than that, my friends.
Remember when I said the free update model was affecting the Mario series? Well, so far it's only been the sports titles and Mario Maker, but it makes all the sense in the world to me that Mario Kart will do it too. And if that ends up being the case, it logically follows that EPD9 won't have the time to work on other projects. So not only does a game I like with a clear amount of consorted passion get prevented from becoming a series in favor of Nintendo's single most safest franchise, but it likely prevents any other projects from coming from this endlessly creative and talented team in favor of perpetually developing every subsequent entry in Nintendo's single most safest franchise. And this wouldn't even be the first time Mario Kart's existence has actively stifled a series I love. F-Zero has been dormant for 20 plus years, and whenever Nintendo higher-ups are asked whether or not they'll return to it, Mario Kart is often cited as a reason why they need not feel compelled to do so. In a weird way, Mario Kart has become this obelisk, this monument, this demonstrative icon of what keeps Nintendo from supporting the franchises they've managed to win me over with.
But, I should stress, and this is a vitally important piece of the bigger picture, I do not know anything.
For all any of us know, EPD9 could have already made ARMS 2 and Nintendo is saving it for a rainy day, as they seemingly have with games like Metroid Prime Remastered, Advance Wars Reboot Camp, and Pikmin 4. For all any of us know, Nintendo EPD could have changed hands for ARMS or Mario Kart and given main development duties to other teams. For all any of us know, the ARMS graphic novel's cancellation, the seemingly abrupt end to ARMS' updates, and the inclusion of Min Min and Smash Ultimate all suggest Nintendo put plans into effect for a sequel years ago. For all any of us know, EPD9 works on multiple projects at once, and their team within a team has its own teams within a team within a team. I'm just teeming with ideas to dissuade my fears of ARMS becoming yet another F-Zero or Custom-Robo. Nintendo IPs too specifically catered to me and my tastes for Nintendo to justify supporting, when they could instead make endless, tenuously different variations on the same stuffy franchises that anybody could call dusty if they weren't on hand with industrial Swiffers 24/7.
So that's it. That's the Mario Kart ARMS discrepancy. That's the hyper-specific bullet point on the A-Talking Sock iceberg. That's what explains my blasé and at times straight-up hostile attitude towards Mario Kart, and my perpetual worry as to whether or not we'll ever see another ARMS game. This video may not be relevant for very long, should some development on the front of ARMS or Mario Kart come along to dismantle it or put it to rest. But now that we're nearly done with Mario Kart 8's DLC and 6 years removed from ARMS release with no announcement or indication of a sequel on the horizon, now is probably the best time to get this video out there. And hey, you just watched all the way to the end, more or less, so thank you. I suppose I should ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, eh? There'll be more content on Nintendo's output, their niche series, the makeup of it all, and all sorts of other stuff that I think should have videos made on them here in the near future. Now then, I suppose you should be off. I've told you all I can for now. Do come back when I next upload, won't you? And stay for the credits. I have some very special friends for whom we owe some thanks.
Very special thanks to my Patreon backers who make this show possible. For as little as $1 a month, you can get behind-the-scenes updates, support the channel more than YouTube does, and get other cool behind-the-scenes stuff here and there. If you're not into the idea of having to pay monthly but still want to financially support the channel, you can leave me a tip through the Super Thanks option here on YouTube. But if you haven't got the funds for any of that, I totally get it. Just liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel does a lot in the long run. Thank you once again for watching this video all the way to the end, especially this video because it's such an odd topic. Yeah. As I said at the start of this video, my next mainline Talking Sock episode like this will be on the topic of Nintendo's IP hierarchy. And in the meantime, I'll also have shorts, some of which are like condensed versions of these videos, others of which are just whatever random puppet-related skits I can think of. There'll be some fun surprises. Stick around to see them. And I'll see you the next time I see you.